TikTok. The app, known for its dance challenges, memes, and bite-sized videos, has exploded into a global phenomenon. And it was even the fastest-growing brand in early 2022. As younger generations become more and more plugged in, they're spending hours in front of screens, especially smartphones, and getting influenced by virtually anyone at an early age. In just a few seconds, discover how the digital age is reshaping the future of our youth, for better or worse. Unlike our parents and grandparents, who once dreamed of careers in medicine, business, education, or the arts, over 85% of young people now say their biggest dream is to become a digital influencer, according to a Morning Consult study. Even though we're living in the information age, with unprecedented access to knowledge, the youth are spending too much time on social media, often engaging in activities that add little value to their lives. This new trend has even raised concerns among scientists. Some studies indicate that, for the first time, we're seeing a generation with a lower average IQ than the one before it, even in highly developed countries like Norway, Finland, and Denmark. Chances are you've heard the old claim that younger generations have no future. It's nothing new. We've all been on the receiving end of that talk, just as our parents and grandparents were. But recent events have drastically changed how young people are growing up, forcing us to wonder if this might actually be true, if we're indeed witnessing a lost generation. It's nothing new for older generations to dismiss today's youth. Think back to the 1920s, when young women wearing short skirts, smoking, drinking publicly, and listening to jazzwear labeled flappers, and met with disapproval by the older crowd. The same went for the hippies in the 1960s, a diverse group of post-war youths who were far from being embraced by conservative society. This is what we call a generation gap. In fact, one study found that adults tend to judge kids and teens more harshly in the areas where we once excelled ourselves. While that judgment isn't entirely fair, after all, we don't always remember what we were like at their age, the fact remains that today's youngsters are showing unexpected results on intelligence tests, and not in a good way. French neuroscientist Michel Desmurger from the French National Institute of Health explains that digital natives, kids born in the information age, are the first generation to have an average IQ lower than that of their parents. This trend seems to run counter to the so-called Flynn effect, a theory proposed by American psychologist James Flynn, which held that a population's IQ gradually increases from one generation to the next. And while IQ isn't the only measure of intelligence, studies show that our ability to focus has significantly declined in the digital era. A Microsoft study revealed that the human attention span is now shorter than that of a goldfish, 8 seconds compared to 9 seconds for the fish. Participants in this study admitted to using electronic devices more than average and reported difficulty focusing on tasks that require prolonged attention. For most people, excessive screen time starts at an early age. Data from a 2019 Pew Research Center study found that about 95% of American teens have access to a smartphone, with the internet being their primary means of connection. Mobile devices have become the main source of entertainment for the younger generation. In the U.S., a significant number of teens use the internet as their go-to form of leisure, according to Common Sense Media. But it wasn't always that way. Parents.com reminds us that outdoor games like hopscotch and hide-and-seek used to help kids bond with family and friends, something essential for early social development. These activities positively stimulated children's creativity and imagination, unlike screen time, which tends to leave kids passive. American psychologist John Twenge, renowned for her work on the impact of digital media on youth, explains that excessive screen use is directly linked to declining cognitive abilities in children. When kids are constantly connected, they rarely develop logical reasoning because everything is served up instantly, a constant, overstimulating visual feast that ends up distracting them. And when a child is distracted, a neurotransmitter called dopamine, the chemical of pleasure and well-being, is released. Even indoor activities like board games and hours spent on video games used to challenge kids to think, solve problems, and engage competitively. Today, those challenges are replaced by an endless loop of content consumption that requires zero concentration, logical reasoning, or social interaction. With urban growth and safety concerns in city centers, many parents now prefer to let their kids play in the safety of their bedrooms or living rooms. This leaves children with no choice but to turn to their smartphones for entertainment. That's how platforms like TikTok gain such a huge foothold in kids' lives, and why it's so easy to see them getting hooked on this kind of content. Although this isn't limited to TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are designed to be addictive as well. None of these platforms have perfected the art of addiction like the Chinese-owned TikTok, which launched in 2018 after ByteDance acquired the short video app Musical. ByteDance rebranded and expanded the platform globally under the name TikTok, where users post a wide range of videos, from pranks and acrobatics to jokes, dance routines, and various forms of entertainment, lasting anywhere from 15 seconds to 10 minutes. Essentially, it's a platform for those who aren't quite sure what content to create. I'll be honest, I downloaded TikTok in 2020 just to see how it worked, and I ended up really liking it. Even though anyone who knows me understands, I'm not usually a social media fanatic. But then I started noticing something else. It wasn't the content that hooked me, it was something far more insidious: addiction. TikTok's secret lies in its use of machine learning. By analyzing user data and preferences, the app quickly learns what grabs your attention and serves up more of it, keeping you hooked with an endless feed of quick videos. Within minutes, you watch a few videos, swipe past the ones you don't like, and binge on the ones that catch your eye, allowing the algorithm to pin down your viewing habits. In short, TikTok knows what you like and uses that to keep you scrolling, and it's designed that way even when you try to exit. On Android devices, for instance, tapping the exit button just refreshes the feed with another recommended video. To really leave, you have to tap again. I experienced this firsthand. I tried to leave TikTok only to find myself caught in its grip, even though I was fully aware I was being manipulated. In this scenario, kids are even more vulnerable to an addictive system designed just for that purpose. Their brains get hit with massive doses of dopamine when they watch content they enjoy, which can easily lead to addiction. And unlike us adults, whose brains are fully developed, children lack the self-control to know when to stop, and that's the problem. But while social media is designed to be addictive, it's not entirely to blame. Even with the vast array of entertainment options available online, most people tend to go for what's easiest, even if it's not healthy or meaningful. So it appears that kids are hooked on the rush of pleasure and well-being that screens provide. As adults, it's our responsibility to offer alternative activities that boost skills like language, motor abilities, and socio-emotional intelligence, so that children feel comfortable around others and can develop a broader view of the world. This, in turn, could help improve their IQ over time. Take TikTok dance challenges, for example. They're part of a new wave of superficial entertainment that adds little value, not just for kids, but also for teens who might even be exposed to overly sexualized content. Plus, this barrage of random information can overload our brains. Researchers at Harvard say it's because our minds can't process the constant flood of data we receive daily. Depending on how we manage these impulses, it can lead to high stress levels. While many are aware of the health issues linked to excessive social media use, a study by cybersecurity firm Kaspersky found that in the U.S., over 90% of adults spend 3 or more hours a day on their smartphones, and 85% of their kids exceed the time their parents do. When parents are glued to their phones, they inadvertently set a precedent for their children. Beyond focus and attention issues, too much time on social media can lead to emotional and psychological problems. Depression and anxiety are common, prompting organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, to issue guidelines on screen time and age-appropriate usage. So, where did we go wrong? The concept of liquid modernity, coined by Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, perfectly captures the reality for today's youth. In their eyes, everything is fleeting and superficial, a perspective that often leaves them feeling empty in real life. The lack of face-to-face interaction and scattered forms of entertainment mean that growing up online often leaves little room for deep reflection. Digital natives have the world at their fingertips, yet they're missing out on so much. Despite all these conveniences, the younger generation seems uninterested in using these tools to their full potential. Consider this. In the information age, people are reading less and less. A study by Columbia University found that most people only read headlines, rarely clicking through to read the full article. This tells us that our attention is so divided that we can't fully engage with what interests us. Even the paywall on news sites isn't entirely to blame. They have every right to charge for quality journalism. But the fact remains, knowing that today's youth might struggle more than we did to think deeply, form meaningful relationships, or even feel happy, even though they're growing up in an era of unprecedented development, should be alarming. If you'd rather spend hours each day scrolling through the best of what Mark Zuckerberg's companies have to offer, then please, don't complain when the consequences follow. Excessive social media use doesn't help us solve problems, learn new things, or evolve, especially when we can't even focus long enough to absorb the basics. I learned this the hard way in college. I'd sit through a boring lecture and then cram online the night before an exam, blaming the teacher for my lack of focus. It eventually hit me. I wasn't paying attention in class because my mind was elsewhere. Once I started focusing during lectures, I realized the lessons weren't so bad after all. I was just the only one who wasn't giving them my full attention. In a world where over 80% of young people dream of becoming influencers, we adults need to seriously consider our role in shaping this reality. We must provide alternatives so that kids and teens don't only learn about real life when they're on the brink of adulthood. Agree or disagree? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to like and share this video with that friend who's always glued to their phone. Together, we can spark a conversation and drive change. Now, if you want to know how vapes became the new cigarette and are getting kids hooked on nicotine, check out the video on your screen. Click it now. I'll see you there in a few seconds. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time.